I think our express vision when we started was to actually build a internet of agents, right? And that's still, like I said, the vision that we are working towards. And the whole idea is that I think this was a fantastic crypto use case for AI because it is a great way to create a decentralized network where all these agents can come on board, they can discover each other.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Coordinated. So today we have another AVS who are building on EigenLayer. It's like you can say EigenLayer plus AI. If you see like EigenLayer is going heavily on the AI space. Last week, I think a couple of weeks back, we released the episode with Sriram about Verifiable AI, which many of you have watched it. So like I think he mentioned a lot of ideas which the entire Verifiable AI stack is unlocking, and EigenLayer is how playing a key part in it. I think Ungate, which is like today's guest, like Nav from Ungate is a founder, is building in that space and leveraging verifiable AI. You'll learn a lot about the various dynamics of verifiable AI again, uh, how EigenLayer is unlocking the verifiable AI stack, and how Ungate is doing unique innovations in its own way, and obviously how developers can build on it and a bunch of other stuff. So, hey Nav, welcome to the show. Super thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Satyaki. And thanks for the fantastic introduction as well. And thrilled to be here. And love to actually talk about EigenLayer, Ungate, and how we are helping realize this vision of a verifiable cloud and verifiable AI on EigenLayer.
Awesome. So, Nav, I think before we get started with Ungate, we'd like to know a little bit about you, your background, how you came into crypto, what you used to do before, like in Web3 and crypto, and like why you choose to build on the AI and the EigenLayer stack.
Fantastic. Okay. So Ungate is my second company, right, in this space. The first one was a metaverse infrastructure company. We call it Metafee. And we started in the previous cycle, right, roughly around the early 2022s. And that's when there was a huge meta around metaverse, and there's NFTs was like really really big. And while everybody was building these fantastic worlds and all, so we were building infrastructure like a infrastructure product which allowed people to stream these gaming workloads or metaverse workloads directly into their browser itself. Right? So it was an alternative to pixel streaming from Epic Games, and we sort of built it out. I think the cycle we saw that cycle go up and go down as well, and we continued building and finally exited in 2023 to a gaming company, and then they sort of came out. I was mentoring at say EigenLayer Ventures. I was mentoring at another AI accelerator called AI Forge. I was also quite involved in the super team UK as helping a lot of projects there. And then around the February June February to June timeframe is when this whole concept around Ungate started to form. And June is when we properly kicked off. We pulled together a team and we started building on EigenLayer. Right. Before we come back to why EigenLayer, I'll take us back memory lane. So I started my career in 2004. I started off with Oracle, was an engineer there, and then sort of grew up to be an architect. And finally, I moved on to become a product manager. Right, so started looking into the product side of the business. So when I exited, I was looking at I was a VP of products. I was looking after predictive analytics and whatnot. So machine learning, AI is stuff that I was quite exposed to even when I was there. And like everybody, I think, or for like a lot of people in the space, I sort of got exposed to crypto in 2017, right? That's when I discovered Bitcoin, I discovered Ethereum, and like anybody, I was like mainly sort of speculating, like buying coins, selling, trading, made a lot of money, lost a lot of money, whatnot, right? But while all of that happened and the whole thrill of going up and down these cycles was interesting and painful at the same time, I think the technology sort of stuck out to me. So again, when I started thinking about Ungate in 2024, the Feb time, to me it felt like there are these two things I know and I'm sort of quite passionate about, which is AI and crypto. So how do we bring these two together, right? And how do we contribute towards this whole movement of decentralized AI? Because personally, and I'm sure a lot of people agree, AI is very powerful, and putting it in the hands of very few people by centralizing it and letting them sort of have all this power to themselves, I think is actually a bad thing, right? So like a lot of people who were building in the space in that time, I was like, okay, what are the things we can do to sort of contribute towards this decentralization movement? And that's where there are a few options, right? So early 24, everybody was focused on models and inference and all of that, and every decentralization effort was mainly around how can we, create decentralized training, how can we create decentralized inference, and things like that, right? At that time, it's like that space felt like a little saturated because there were a lot of players already looking at different solutions and very good minds working at it, right? And I wanted to look at the next horizon, and that's where, again, early Feb itself, we were thinking about agents, and at that time, the market was very agent, what do you say, unconscious, right? Nobody was thinking about this as the next kind of development that is going to come about in AI. So at that time, when I spoke to a lot of people, they're like, agents are going to come at least 3 to 4 years from now. So you're too early to the market and whatnot, right? But uh, I mean, I along with a few people in the team thought this is not the case. Agents are coming soon, and everybody's going to really go after it. Now, at that point, we were like, okay, what can we build here? And the idea of Ungate was always building a network of agents, right? A network, a swarm of agents that can come together, that can coordinate with each other. And through this joint coordination, through this swarm intelligence, the whole idea was we approach AGI rather than a lot of models that were being explored at that time, where people are just building these big models, right? So throwing a lot of parameters, throwing a lot of data, and having these monolithic models come together to create AGI. Our idea was, let's actually take all these small agents which are specialized and try to create this way of them coming together, and then sort of achieve AGI through that swarm coordination approach. So I think our vision still is the same. We are working towards that. But I think the way we are approaching that has sort of changed a little, given how the market has developed in this period. Okay, now why EigenLayer, right? So because we are talking about a network, and a network requires, and a decentralized network, a network requires quite a few components. Right? With EigenLayer, you actually get all of that ready-made, right? And that's the whole point. And as we were discussing, right? Where a project needs to go and create their own network, their own ecosystem of, say, people, right? Of all these ecosystem actors like operators, validators, and everybody else who needs to contribute into that ecosystem, along with the kind of core components that need to be there, like economic security and everything else. I think EigenLayer actually sort of gives you in a plate, right? So when you're a new project and you're looking to bootstrap and you actually do not have a huge community, a huge ecosystem around you, building on EigenLayer is like a no brainer, right? It actually bootstraps you in like literally no time. And this is exactly what Shriram was also saying in Denver, right? It is like how web moved from having to host its own hardware, its own software, to moving to the cloud, right? The whole shift was actually phenomenal in the sense that it completely changed the paradigm. And I think for me, when Shriram says EigenLayer is like the verifiable cloud of blockchain, that's exactly what it does, because so far you would have to go and bootstrap your own network, you would have to bring all that people into that ecosystem, whereas with EigenLayer you sort of just go deploy a AVS and you get a lot of that that ecosystem ready made for you. So starting going from zero to an AVS is like literally reduced by, I would say, even 100x, right? The time and the effort required to do that, you can reduce that by 100x.
Cool. I think that's a pretty detailed intro and helped us like grasp our mind around what Ungate is. We'll obviously dive deeper into it and other stuff, and also like how you guys are using EigenLayer. But before that, I want to delve little bit on the philosophical side of AI across crypto.
Yeah.
I think many of the big minds they're saying in this way, hey, that AI doesn't need crypto, but crypto needs AI, right? Because it's a debatable statement. I'm not commenting that. I'm just like quoting from some pop like advanced minds, which they are saying. Like We are using chat GPTs, we are using these LLM models and all the softwares. Even this recording platform which we are using is using some sort of AI models.
Yeah.
But hey, who is using crypto at the end beyond payments? Like you said, I think Sriram mentioned this a lot, that we are trying to enforce this new thing, the commitments, right? But I personally think, hey, does a normie user or a consumer do care about commitments? Like at the end of the day, they just want their uh, results to get fulfilled, which AI is doing at mass for many people. But at the end of the day, largely crypto is skewed or locked in for payments. So, want to know about your thoughts about this EigenLayer or Shriram statements around we are creating this new layer of commitment, basically, and also is like how can crypto can add real value to AI, not just some narratives.
Understood. Okay. So I think what you say about crypto needing, as an AI not needing crypto and crypto needing AI, I think that statement is true, right? But that is not just for crypto, right? Every technology needs AI right now. I think the genie is out of the bottle, and you cannot. I don't think we can go back to a world without AI any longer. So pretty much AI is going to have an impact on pretty much all technologies, all industries, and there's no denying that, right? Well, whether AI needs crypto or not, I mean, in terms of need, there are certain parts of AI that would benefit from crypto, right? So there are two ways of looking at it. So one is, what are the problems that crypto can solve for AI? So that is one thing. Second is, how can crypto make AI more responsible? How can crypto make AI more, more credible and working for the human society than otherwise, right? So how can crypto make AI good, AI beneficial? So these are two things or two streams of thought that you can actually apply crypto to. I'll tackle one at a time, right? So in terms of real sort of tangible problems crypto can solve. Um, so with most of what consumers use in this world, right? So uh, maybe financial services, maybe other things, right? So in a lot of cases, while users are always, they always sort of worship in the altar of convenience. Anything that's convenient, that's what they go to. Uh, there are there are a lot of things that have systems and regulations that have been put in place that protects a normal consumer, right? Now we are moving into a world where a lot is going to change, right? For example, in today's world, when you are actually making a financial transaction, like when you go to a bank and you make a financial transaction, or you have money in a bank, right? Or you are actually, working with a utility company or any industry that can actually affect a normal consumer uh, a lot, right? Disproportionately, there are systems in place to protect that particular consumer. So as we're moving into a world where a lot of that can be undone, right? With AI, I think entire economies, entire societies would be rewritten. Now, what crypto gives you is actually a way of enabling that trust, enabling certain systems to be put in place so that a normal consumer does not get unnecessarily exploited, right? So, from that point of view, I mean, as we are starting to see, and that is the area that we are starting to play in, right? Which is how can you enforce trust into AI, right? And that is actually a very important reason for, or that is a very important use case for crypto in AI. It can actually be the trust layer for AI. From that point of view, I think what we are working with and what we are starting to see right now is by actually creating these verifiable agents, we are able to start seeing what actions an agent takes, and how it's handling money and who's handling money for that matter. I mean, is it just an agent, or are there other parties involved in that and all of that? And through that, once you start being recording a lot of this on chain and making it verifiable, then you actually have a view of what is happening, right? Because one of the issues with AI is these are black box. This is a black box technology, right? It's very hard for you to know how it's taking its decisions and how it's, sort of taking an action and all of that. So now by creating this layer of verifiability on top of AI, you are able to create that trust layer. by making sure that a lot of these actions are in accordance or are beneficial to the consumers or the people who are using that particular AI. So that is something that you can actually deploy immediately. And like that, you'll actually start seeing more and more use cases where you'd find that AI, like crypto, has such very niche. Um, it solves very niche problems within the AI space. Now, moving on to the general decentralization of AI space, I think that solves a huger societal problem where if you just let a few people or centralized entities have control and access to this AI, then of course we all know that power corrupts. Then you get to a point where already we are seeing corporations are larger than nation states, right? And they do have a lot of power to sort of dictate what they want to do and what they don't want to do. Now, with AI, I think we are starting to create huge monopolies and duopolies. And if you do not have hedges against all of these centralized entities, then I think we as a society are going to be in a very vulnerable spot. And we are going to be at the mercy of all these people who have access to this and can control this powerful technology to sort of dictate how our lifestyle is going to be, how the society is going to evolve, and all of that. So I think it is important to use crypto and the principles of decentralization and trust and censorship resistance to create AI that is beneficial to humankind and that can actually give us a true alternative to all the different models that are being explored right now. Right. And that is something that crypto can give us. And I think that is something that we should fully exploit. I think it is in good conscience, or it is in our conscience for us to actually pursue that and deploy into this world. So yeah, I think there is a responsibility for us to do that.
Uh, just one more question before we moved on to the Ungate and the EigenLayer real. That is, I completely buy the concept, and not only buy that, I personally believe that, as you mentioned, that uh, individual corporations, like let's not go to the AI, like let's say the Meta or the Meta, Google, Alphabet, and all these people, they have much more power than many nation states. In fact, I think most nation states, right? And with AI, they are getting more smarter, and the the power they will hold will be like it will be like scaled up much more.
Yeah.
Now, I think, based on my observation, it is a like people in the developed nations, right? Or people in, let's say, the top 1% of the developing nation or the second world nations can perceive it at mass, that, okay, my privacy is at risk. Or if the nation states, or if the corporations have this centralized source of power, they can exploit with what they have. Uh, just want to pick your brain on this, since you have a like vivid experience in AI, crypto, and in Web2 also. How can we kind of not enforce but educate people, or tell people, or like the normies who doesn't know that much about how corrupt these things can be, like why actually decentralization in AI matters? How can we like at least make a developing nation person or normie guy at least interested to know, okay, if I give everything to GPT, or if I give everything to Gemini or Meta or Grok, maybe, there might be a problem which will affect them as well, and their family members and everybody.
So once again, right, I think we've seen time and again that normal users are not concerned about a lot of the most important things that are going to affect them, right? For example, privacy, security, and all of this has been a huge topic for a long time, crypto or not, right? So how big tech companies are exploiting our data, how privacy is being sort of exploited and things like that, right? But irrespective of that, when you actually go to a website and you see a button which says, there are cookies are going to access your data, etc. Do you want to agree or not? Everybody clicks agree, right? I don't know. I do not see how many people actually, I mean, educated people, even in crypto, how many times are you actually clicking do not accept, right? You most likely would click accept and you just move on, right? So convenience is actually the one thing that we are so addicted to, uh, and incentives. So I think these are the two things that we have as a leverage. So in general, with crypto, I think incentives is a great way to sort of influence behavior And that's what crypto has actually used so far to get a lot of people, at least everybody who's come onto this side of the world, to sort of change behaviors in a certain way, right, or exhibit certain behaviors. But taking it back to the normal world, then the only way you can actually enforce any of this until such point where people, I mean, AI has gotten so out of hand and people really are starting to push back against it. The only way you can get people to really think about and want to work with any decentralized technology is not because it is decentralized technology, but it is because it is solving some real user problems, right? In a way that in a way that normal Web2 apps cannot. And unless we are able to crack that, right? So we do need killer apps, like how the internet needed killer apps to actually like grow and expand. We also need killer apps to really sort of grow and expand. And finances, absolutely, DeFi and finances and payments for that matter is actually a killer use case. I think the only thing that is stopping it becoming fully mainstream is all the kind of regulations and the governmental pushbacks against it, right? But if you are able to sort of create a system where people are able to just use finance in a way where they don't even have to, or they can use it well enough within the crypto rails, then you'd start seeing more and more people come on. But again, this cycle has been very interesting where I think presidents have released crypto coins, a lot of visibility has increased. So we'll get a lot of people coming over. But then now, once they come over, it is about what we give them, how do we solve their problems, and what kind of incentives do we enable for them to exhibit certain behaviors or use certain apps. I think that's really how we can actually expand this. I don't think there is a silver bullet at all, Satyaki. It is education doesn't really work. You can go and educate as many people as you want, but unless there is a huge pain that you're solving, I don't think people will really care about it.
I think these discussions can like last on hours end because little on the philosophical realm and we can go endlessly. We'll obviously like to chat more on that, but we have a set time allotted for this session. We'll like to come back to like what you guys are building at Ungate. You mentioned it in a very small way, but if you can like go in a little depth that the problem statements which you saw, which led you to start Ungate, and what is the stage of development now, and what you guys are building at this moment in the Ungate realm, if you can say that. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic, right? So I think our express vision when we started was to actually build a internet of agents, right? And that's still, like I said, the vision that we are working towards. And the whole idea is that I think this was a fantastic crypto use case for AI because it is a great way to create a decentralized network where all these agents can come on board. They can discover each other. They can actually sort of understand each other's skills, incentives, and whatnot, and they can coordinate with each other to create like a fully functional AI economy, right? And a AI marketplace where it is an open, fair marketplace, not controlled by any entity. It is the participants which control the functioning and the outcomes of what this network enables. And again, like I said, AI is or crypto is like a fantastic use case for something like this. So with Ungate, when we started, this is like the vision that we are working towards, right? And as the market developed, and as last October, November, it kind of completely exploded and started growing economically. What we started seeing is there is this. You do have a lot of these agents that are coming out, but a lot of them are really social agents, right? And they're yapping and dancing and whatnot. Now, while all of that is good, I mean, these are like fun use cases, and of course, it's great. It's got a huge memetic quality to it. What the market started moving towards early this year is more sophisticated use cases, right? Where agents are handling user funds, they're starting to handle user data and whatnot. So, in this scenario, what's happening is as agents are handling sensitive information, one thing that you need to ensure is trust, right? And unfortunately, even though we are in crypto, a lot of the agents that are being developed here, apart from the fact that they have a token stamped against them, they're actually not following any crypto principles at all, right? So they're not decentralized, they're not verifiable, they most likely are not even sitting or associated with a chain, right? They make some on-chain actions, but that is about it, right? So while agents are consumers of crypto, agents are themselves not say fully on-chain or crypto enabled, right? And I think that is important to do because you need to. That's the best way for you to ensure trust. And what we are working towards is building out the trust layer for agents. So as you're starting to see more and more agents perform all these actions like your on-chain actions, capital formation. Of course, we've seen agents launch tokens and sell out like sell out in a matter of seconds, right? Now, where you have VC agents, so you're starting to see more and more agents come out. Slowly, we are moving into this world of personal agents where everybody's starting to create like a digital clone of themselves, and they're training that agent with their own personal data. So a lot of sensitive data is being handled by these agents. So as you're going into them, unless you make sure these agents are autonomous, and when I say autonomous, they are responsible for their own actions, and it is not a human being who is actually pulling the strings from the back end. Unless you make sure they are sovereign, and by sovereign, they are responsible for their own funds, their own assets, and their own wallets and their private keys and all that, right? And again, no human has access to that. And they're also acting in an integral way, right? So they are handling data in the right way, and they're not, sort of using data in ways that we do not appreciate. You're not going to get to a state where these agents will become mainstream, because what happens is at one point, say agents that are if there are few instances where agents rug people, or people lose money because of a hack or any of that, then the sentiment is going to go downhill, right? So the best way is to make sure that we are building to certain standards, we are putting in place certain systems, and verifiability is one of them, along with decentralization, right? And that is exactly what Ungate is building towards. Now, with the launch of Wukong, which is our latest AVS on EigenLayer, so we launched a couple of weeks back. So what we have done is we have actually created like a secure hosting system, or a hosting platform. It is like, say, a cloud built on the EigenLayer verifiable cloud. It's a T network using Marlin's, sort of deepin, and it so where you can actually deploy agent into the T. And what you do is, once the agent is there, Wukong starts producing a lot of proofs, right? It creates proofs of autonomy, proofs of sovereignty, and proofs of integrity. And all of this gets pushed into, say, on-chain storage, right? It goes into EigenDA, it goes into Filecoin and IPFS. And all of this then get independently verified by, say, validators in the EigenLayer ecosystem. So you deploy an agent, or you sort of deploy into Wukong. We take that, we deploy your agent into a TE and make it verifiable immediately. And from inside the TE, we generate proofs of all these three things we said. And once we generate these proofs, we push them on chain so that it can be observed and sort of validated by anybody. But we also make sure that this is independently validated by operators in the EigenLayer ecosystem. Now, the idea is eventually, when anybody deploys an agent into this ecosystem, they will have to stake some economic security, so that if they sort of created, if it fails any of these verification and proofs, then there is a penalty or slashing that is enabled on that agent itself. So that way, we make sure that we are creating agents that are kept accountable, right? And that can be trusted. So to the point where when you see verified by Wukong, people know that it is actually a trusted agent.
So we have many components here. I'll want to break it down to, like, for my better understanding and also the listeners of this podcast, so that they can also walk along through
Yeah.
us. So one thing is the Ungate, let's say, protocol. And over that, there is this EVS Wukong, which you are telling.
Yeah.
So before we go to the other parts, want to know how Ungate and this AVSs are linked. Now, is Ungate doing something more than Wukong AVS, or it's a product of the Ungate protocol? How Wukong AVS and Ungate are linked at the first place?
So Wukong is like our MVP, right? So the protocol, the MVP of the protocol is Wukong. So that way, it is the first building block in terms of building out this entire protocol, which is a network of agents, right? So from that point of view, by being able to deploy agents into our Wukong AVS, we are starting to create the ground for creating a much larger network, right? So we already are creating a network of trusted agents, which actually are autonomous, which are decentralized, and are acting in a trustable manner. Right? Now, once you have a critical mass of these agents, we want to make sure we are able to help them coordinate with each other uh, using. I think again, once you have trust, right? The next thing is you want to make sure that this trust is materialized, right? So we'll start creating reputation scores for these agents, and we'll also create the right coordination protocols for them to talk to each other, to exchange, exchange their skills, to exchange value uh, through trust. And by doing that, what you start seeing is this network and a slow economy of these agents, which are acting in a beneficial manner, that can work with each other, and they can align their incentives and lead to valuable outputs, right? So once that starts happening, then our network slowly starts coming into life, right? So that's the sort of approach we are taking into building this up.
So Wukong AVS mainly provides trust, if I understand correctly, and the Ungate protocol, once this agent start consuming this trust, maybe developed in-house or maybe developed permissionlessly with the community, Ungate will provide a coordination layer where these swarms of agents can, let's say, communicate with each other,
Yeah.
or you can have reputation scores or other ways to kind of quantify how they're behaving and how they're kind of adding value to the community on the wider ecosystem. Is it a good way to think?
It is a fantastic way to think, right? Exactly. So what with Wukong, we are producing and consuming trust.
Awesome. Okay. So before you go to the other complex stuff, I want to simplify what you just like mentioned a few minutes back. One thing you mentioned is the TE which you are using from the Merlin network, right? So how the TE from Merlin network and this Wukong AVS, like basically how Wukong AVS is utilizing the TE power of Merlin.
Yes. So Marlin has the T as a TE deepen service, right? And
Just one thing, I have heard of Merlin, but exactly don't know what they solve. Do they provide only TE, or TE is one of the offerings of their suite of DFIN products?
so they are mainly optimized towards TEs, but they do have other things as well, right? So, but Marlin is synonymous with TEs in the general world. Now, I think instead of actually trying to create or reinvent the wheel a lot from our side, what we did is we actually are working with a lot of these protocols that already exist, and we are orchestrating this entire flow of deployment. So, hosting, uh, proof generation, then sort of proof storage and proof exploration, right? So, these are the multiple components. Now, we are actually working with multiple partners to bring this together, and Wukong sort of coordinates all of this to produce a end outcome, which is trust, right? So with Marlin, what we're doing is, of course, they have the TE network, and we are putting our own wrappers around it to make sure that once an agent is deployed into Wukong, we are able to take it. We actually run a lot of we run an agent on top of it to sort of see if the code is not malicious, it doesn't have any backdoors, and it is actually a beneficial agent, right? So first step is we do that. Once we do that, we deploy into the T provided by Marlin, and we sort of manage, we host, we manage, and all of that. From an end user point of view, it is a little, it is like uh, transparent, right? So they don't have to worry about anything that's happening in the background. So you are deploying into Wukong, we take care of the hosting of it in Marlin. We take care of the proof generation. We take care of the storage of these proofs, and finally how it is sort of verified in EigenLayer. And finally, at the end, what you see is all these proofs are made available for others to sort of go and observe through the proof explorer, right? So that way, if
Sorry to interrupt you again, because these are lots of tech jargons. I want to break it down simple. So, initially, let's say I deploy something on Wukong AVS, right? You first Wukong will take care of the hosting. Like, okay, is it hosted properly? Then it will transpile to Merlin T, which it will make sure that everything is transparent and the inference or maybe the processing of the agent is correct, or in a trusted environment. Next, you mentioned the generation of proof that, okay, fine. The how will a system will know whether the commitment is correct? So I think for that we need to generate proofs, right? If I get it correctly. So who generates the proof? Is it something you have developed in house, or is the TE network providing, or some other services you have
So
integrated?
the proof generation is something that we have developed in house, right? So that's exactly what Wukong does, right? And that's the trust element.
Okay, so after that, it's going to this data storages, maybe data availability for EigenLayer for fast consumption, and for permanent storage to Filecoin and IPFS. And then it goes to what you mentioned. After that, like after it is being stored into the data, okay, fine, the proof is finalized, the agent is fine. What's the next step which is coming to the entire user?
So next step is that these get sent into the EigenLayer validation system, right? So the verification system. So our operators. So Wukong has close to Ungate has close to 40 operators, right? So all these operators are notified that this agent a proof has been generated and has been stored in this particular location. Now, what they do is they go and they validate that these proofs have been generated by the agent and they look right, right? And they sort of, if they all agree and come to a consensus, then this gets sort of recorded on EigenLayer and in extension Ethereum.
So, okay, awesome. Got the flow. Next, you mentioned is the economic uh, layer around it. You mentioned one party who will come and stake it, right? Is it the operators or stakers, or some other party members who can come and join in the economic layer of this entire
So
process?
right now, most economic security comes from the operators who are doing the validation.
Hmm.
And that solves a few issues or decentralization issues, right? So, but what we are working towards is when an agent developers or an agent is deployed into the network, the agent also stakes some ETH, like what is called as unique stake, right? So the agent also stakes a certain amount of money. It's a little bit like how, okay, let me draw this parallel, right? So in ETH, if you have to, participate in creating a block, right? So you will have to stake, say, 32 ETH. So if you want to become like a, a full node operator in ETH, right? You'll have to stake 32 ETH. And also, you have a lot of people who are actually acting as verifiers. And what they do is once somebody sort of writes a block into the pool, they take it and they validate it. And if everything is right, then they sort of approve that the consensus is reached, and then the block gets written into the chain, right? So there are these multiple steps. You have somebody who is taking all these transactions and creating a block, and they are like proposing the block. Then you have all your verifiers who are taking it and they are verifying it, and if they reach a consensus, they sort of all of this gets written into the chain. That's exactly the same here as well. So in this case, you have an agent which is producing, which is actually taking a particular action, and it is creating these proofs. And the agent is what needs to be sort of what do you say? Needs to prove and create that particular trust element. So then on this side, we have all these validators who are taking the actions of the agent or reviewing the actions of the agent and making sure it is conforming to certain standards. And if it is, once a consensus has reached that it is, then what they do is all of these actions are then recorded properly and they are made available for everybody else to go and see on chain, right? But if the agent has done something wrong, then these people, again, when the verifiers are verifying and they notice some discrepancies, and then they have reached consensus that it has done something wrong, then they sort of highlight that something's gone wrong. And we use that to slash this agent so that we punish its bad behavior, right? In the same, in taking it back to the ETH parallel, if somebody proposed wrong transactions in a block, then that is identified by these verifiers, and they go and they slash the person who's writing this block. The same way, we want to slash the agents to stop it from acting in a bad manner, right? So that way, you ensure that you have a system of agents which are running in this sort of network and ecosystem, which would sort of make sure that it is working in the right manner, but also it knows that if something goes wrong, it is slashed and there is economic cost to that bad behavior.
Yeah, I think as we were discussing kind of before starting recording the show, that I think this is one of the main innovations of EigenLayer, like basically taking Ethereum trust and allowing us to verify anything we want. I think what Ungate and you were trying to solve is like from the same principles and like working parallelly with that,
Exactly.
and which kind of extends Ethereum's use case to like multimodal levels. Like, and
Exactly.
we can do any amount of verification with that.
Exactly. So with Ethereum, what you're actually providing trust for is the transactions and the execution of smart contracts, right? So in this case, we are actually creating trust for agents. And one thing I want to call out very clearly is when a lot of people are talking about verifiable AI, they're talking about verifiable inference, right? Or verifiable models. And really, in that case, what they're saying is, has a particular output been generated by a particular by a particular model, right? We are not working on that, right? So that is not what we are solving at all. We are we are working on making agents verifiable, right? And agent, we are trying to bring a trust into agents. And by verifying inference, you don't automatically actually know if an agent is actually trustable or not, right? So this problem statement is completely different. So what, like I said, there are these 3 or 4 things we are focusing on, which is proof. First is proof of autonomy, right? We want to make sure and prove that an agent is acting in an autonomous fashion. And what I mean by that is any action that has been taken has solely been taken by that agent, and there is no human in the background, which is who is actually pulling the strings. Now, why is this important? Is because if you had a developer or any other entity which had control to the agent, and in fact instead of the agent they were sort of controlling the actions and whatnot. So if it's a DeFi agent or if it's like a trading agent, right, they could front run you, right? Basically they could literally uh, you know buy make certain trades and then go and post that through the agent's handle, or or direct the agents to do that. Like that, if you have a human in the loop, then you actually have a lot of vectors through which you can be you can be sort of attacked, right? So again, if it's a governance sort of an agent, right, and if a human had access to that, then the decision could have come from the human, not the agent itself, right? So then how do you trust that? You just introduce a lot of variability and there is no trust, because when you're working with an agent, you have a certain level of predictability as to this is what the agent is going to do. These are the rules it has been developed against and whatnot. But if an agent is not autonomous, then you have no guarantees that any action is going to work in a certain format, in a certain using certain I would say principles and whatnot. So first is proof of autonomy. We ensure that actions are taken by a certain agent and there is no human involved in the process. Okay. Again, this is not verifiable models or inference. This is verifiable agents. Second is sovereignty. Now, in terms of sovereignty, you need to ensure that a wallet that an agent has, right? Or if an agent is accessing somebody else's wallets, that nobody else again has access to that. There's no human in the loop who has access to that, right? And why is that important? Is, say, if a human had access, then they can actually drain the wallet at any point, right? So you're making sure it is secure, it is vaulted, and nobody else can access it. Right? By just deploying something in a TE, you don't automatically guarantee anything, right? Apart from the fact that an agent is running in a TE, you don't guarantee anything, because if I had developed the agent's code in a certain way that actually it has backdoors, I can actually access it through certain endpoints and whatnot, then I can actually get a lot of this information out, right? Today, you see a lot of people saying, hey, I have my agent running in a TE, so it is secure and it is verifiable. No, it is not, right? You need to make sure that all these proofs are generated to specifically say that it is, it is the actions of the agent, it is any fund transactions or assets are maintained by the agent through its own wallets, which it unilaterally controls. And finally, is integrity, right? So, is it calling the right models? Is it actually using the data properly? Is it storing the data properly? And all of that. So, all of that require very custom made proofs to be generated. And that is exactly what we are doing.
If I like sum up in one line, in a very layman terms, one thing which I want to quote is Ungate is mainly making AI verifiable. Sorry, making agents verifiable.
Exactly.
Yeah, like if I like making agents autonomous and verifiable, if I like put it exactly correctly. I think Sriram, I have also like quote to read this a lot from when the AI and agent type was there that agents will be the largest consumer of AVSs. I think this what you are trying to solve is actually verifying the statement at the same time because we say with a swarm of agents which are going to seep in like every nook and corner of a life and the need for verifiability matters a lot because as you were pointing us to some examples, hey, they're going to handling our wallets, they're going to take positions for us, and but if they're not verifiable, if they go rogue, it's the entire problem for the industry. I think that is where Ungate comes in and solves this part of the problem.
So,
Uh,
so we,
I think
the
we
way we are boxing agents, right? So agents are black box entities. We are white boxing them.
Yeah, awesome. I think that kind of narrows down the problem statement that okay, we are white boxing AI, which is generic now because we are seeing 7, 8 subcategories. There is privacy, data, inference, as you was mentioning, output and everything. I think okay, agents is a one part of that, which which is being white boxed by the Ungate protocol.
Absolutely.
Uh, one thing I'll quickly want to touch that is the applications of Ungate. We have, I think, touched based on the architecture because I think this is a many years of work or experience which have gone in before we have designed the entire thing,
Yeah.
and we have discussed it on a very like on a very high level. But we can obviously can go sometime very deep into it and like study the intricacies. But one thing which is very which will be very interesting to discuss is the applications of it. Uh, uh, any applications which are live on this ungate mechanism as a whole, I'm saying, not only pointing to the AVS. And if what are the things which are building, which like you guys are building, or some other teams are building on ungate, or any applications which are not being built yet, you want the developer audience of this episode that okay, they contact you and like start building on the ungate protocol.
So we have three protocols, three projects already building on Ungate, and you're going to see, them coming out in the next few weeks, right? The one that we are actually working on right now is again I can't name names yet, but it is a tax token, which is actually deployed on the Ungate network, and what it does is it actually runs raffles periodically, right? For example, all the tax it collects, it every hour, it sort of picks a random sort of winner from a list of folders, and it sort of distributes that to that particular person. Now this is where you need to prove trust, right? Because you need to sort of show that this agent is acting in a verifiable manner, right? In a trustable manner or in an accountable manner. So this is deployed inside our TE, and the proofs for the actions of these agents is actually generated. It is stored, and everybody can verify it and know that any action, any raffle, or any like person it has was been chosen for the raffle has been done in a truly random and verifiable manner, right? So that is something that is like literally going live in the next week or two. Now, the other one is we have a DeFi agent that is building on us. We sort of had an announcement that come out from our client last week, which is Yield Nest. So they have a DeFi agent called Nest AI, and what it does is it helps you trade, like it helps you like engage with advanced DeFi strategies. So again, it's an agent. It by running on a TE, you'll be able to know that the wallet that the agent has created on your behalf is actually maintained in a secure place and nobody else has access to. So you can prove that that agent is sovereign. So we also have a trading agent that is being developed on us. So again, what this does is it actually uses advanced strategies to execute a trade, and whatever money it has a token, and once the like anybody who has the token, all the profits or a portion of the profits the trading agent makes gets distributed to all the different holders of the token, right? So all of this is where you are actually handling funds, and anywhere there is funds handling, or you have agent having access to wallets and all of that. So they actually make like a very good use case for them to be deployed on Wukong, right? Not just from an end user point of view, but also from a developer liability point of view, right? So by putting it into a TE and by making sure that you do not have access to it, you are making sure that you do not have the liability associated with handling a lot of these funds, right? Because by having access to these funds, then you're opening yourself to a lot of legal and fiduciary responsibilities. But by doing this, you at least make sure that you as a developer do not have access to this. So it is the agent. So it is a completely different treatment. So from a developer point of view, if you're actually accessing funds or using funds, then I think we make like a fantastic place for you to come and deploy and make sure all these verifications and proofs are in place so that you at least can breathe easy. Apart from that, I think we are starting to see use cases where people want to launch tokens through Ts. So that is a great use case. Governance, like DAOs, like agents that want to sort of start participating in DAOs and all of that. So that is a great use case. So that way, you know that the decisions and actions are, are taken by the agent itself. Like that, I think there'll be more and more use cases. The next one is personal agents. So if you're building agents that are going to be like digital twins and all of that, again, deploying it in a T is a great way to make sure that it is handling the user data properly.
Cool. I think before we end the session, want to know about Ungate, where in the development roadmap we are at, what are the currently a developer can do in the protocol, and what's the plan for the next 2 quarters?
So I think immediately the best thing you can do is if you're developing, if you're an agent developer and you want to make sure that your agent is verifiable and trustable, then come talk to us. So best way is to go to our Discord channel and open a service request called deploy a new agent, and we'll get in touch with you and we'll make sure that this is possible, right? So that's the immediate call to action. So in terms of what we are building towards is we are building more and more proofs, right? Like I said, our the problem statement is how can you make agents trustable, right? And the proofs that we are generating right now are very points in time, but we want to be like very like adaptable and dynamic in terms of how this whole space is developing out and create more and more different types of proofs, again, to make sure that when somebody when an agent has this verified by Wukong tag on it, you can trust it, right? So we'll be developing more and more proofs as we go. So proof of sovereignty, there are some certain ideas that we're working on. For example, we're creating like an AI audit agent, and what it does is it goes through and looks at the agent's code and make sure that there are no vulnerabilities, there are no backdoors, etc., so that the user's funds or data is not compromised. In the same way, it does it before deploy time and runtime, right? That is something that is going to come out in the next month or so. We are developing good interfaces. We are working with different agent frameworks. Right now, we support Elisa, but we are enabling support for other frameworks like therapy and whatnot. Right? So, like that, we do have a full roadmap that has been built out that we're working towards. But once we are at a very comfortable stage, then we'll start moving further and further ahead in terms of this coordination layer, reputation layer, and all of that, so that we are able to create this Internet of Agents.
Awesome. I think thanks now for doing this. I think it was a good discussion around like what Ungate is trying to solve, the verifiable AI part and the philosophical realm of AI and crypto. Wish to like have a very great journey ahead with Ungate and hope it will grow to a very prominent AI infra protocol for the entire crypto and the tech ecosystem.
Yeah. Thanks, Aditya. This has been a fantastic conversation.